All right, well, the weather is fine here for now, but may not be for that much longer. Thank you so much for joining us here on Fox Local or on our other streaming platforms, maybe you're watching this recorded on YouTube or on our website. I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Iskowitz, and today we got two main things we're going to be talking about. Obviously, the hurricane, this unprecedented major hurricane in the Caribbean Sea named Beryl. And we're also, of course, going to be getting you prepared for what is going to be a very, very hot 4th of July here in the Houston area. I wanted to let you know, some people were, when I was posting the forecast and talking about the hurricane, and I described it as being unprecedented, or I think I might have called it extremely rare or something like that, extraordinarily rare. And somebody said, well, what do you mean? We've always had strong hurricanes, right? We've had Category 5 hurricanes all the time. Not this early in the season. Talking about going back to at least the year 1850, and even if you want to say, well, that's a long time ago, who knows what happened back in the 1800s? There could have been some storm out in the middle of the Atlantic. Even if you want to go with what we would call the modern era or the satellite era, the first weather satellite went into operation in 1961. It was called the Tyros 1 satellite. And in fact, there's a Texas connection too, because the first hurricane, I believe, that was observed with that satellite was Hurricane Carlo, which made landfall in Texas in 1961. It was a killer storm. So at least in that era, we can say that we've been, watching the skies with our satellites for that long. We have never seen a storm this strong this early in the year. So Beryl, here's some of the records that are set by Hurricane Beryl. It's the easternmost hurricane to form in the Atlantic Ocean in June, meaning that when we have had hurricanes in June, they're either Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea. This one formed out in the Atlantic Ocean because of those very warm waters. That never happens. It was the earliest Category 4 hurricane on record in the Atlantic Basin. And it was also the strongest June hurricane by wind speed. Second place, or the former record, was a terrible storm named Hurricane Audrey. If you're from Louisiana or maybe East Texas, you might have heard maybe grandparents talking about Hurricane Audrey. It hit in the middle of the night in 1957. It was just awful. Huge, huge storm surge. It also became, Beryl did, the earliest Category 5 on record, as well as becoming the strongest July hurricane on record. So it's the strongest June and the strongest July hurricane on record, and it's the first on record to undergo what's known as rapid intensification in the main development region of the Atlantic, which is out sort of in the south, in the equatorial central Atlantic. So bottom line is, Beryl is an extremely, extremely rare storm. And so I wanted to start out with a look at Beryl and all of the latest information that we have. So the latest information in from the National Hurricane Center is that Beryl has maximum wind speeds right now of about 115 miles per hour. Now, at its peak, Beryl was up to 165 miles per hour. So at one point, it was an just outrageously strong Category 5 hurricane. Now that would be a strong hurricane in August or September, but to have that in early July, like I said, is just simply unheard of. So right now, after lashing the Cayman Islands for this morning, it's now moved past Grand Cayman, making its way in the direction of the Yucatan Peninsula, where it's going to end up making landfall late tonight or early tomorrow morning to the south of Cancun. From there, it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. By the way, it's important to also remember that this cone of uncertainty, it doesn't only communicate the fact that there's error, there can be error one side or the other, but you also have to remember that even the intensity forecast has some error involved. So right now, it's expected to make landfall in Mexico as a Category 1, certainly could be a Category 2. Same thing with when it gets to the U.S. or Mexico. Right now, that cone of uncertainty stretches from around just north of Tampico, Mexico. Right in the middle of the cone of uncertainty is around Brownsville. And then the northern part of that cone actually does include like Matagorda County in our viewing area, in our area. So Could it turn a little bit? Yeah, it definitely could. And either way, we're looking for a good chance for rain with this one. Now, I want to start off showing you this, which is our Fox model. This is our exclusive model, which is a special proprietary model just for Fox Corporation. It's a modified version of what we call the WAR for the Weather Research and Forecasting model. Now, this model makes me a little bit optimistic because it's showing the center of circulation passing well to the south of Texas. Now, why do I put any faith in this? Well, because this was the one model that actually nailed the intensification, this rapid intensification that we saw at the end of last week with Beryl. One of the concerns with this system is going to be rain. It looks like a pretty solid chance for 5 to 10 inches of rain down in the Rio Grande Valley. Some of that moving inland towards San Antonio as well. This begins, by the way, around Sunday and then should be heaviest on Monday and Tuesday and maybe even Wednesday. We can't rule that out. Center of your screen is where Beryl is located. It's not in the Gulf of Mexico just yet. It has been tearing its way through the Caribbean, and here's a visible satellite view. It's what we call our floater imagery, and it is focused on what is still a very large and very dangerous Hurricane Beryl. All right, I want to share some news with you from the Caribbean. Hurricane Beryl is, of course, headed toward Mexico now after killing at least 7 people in the southeast Caribbean Sea. The storm left destruction behind in Jamaica, damaging 95% of homes in the country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, that's away from Jamaica. That's down in what you would call the Windward Islands of the Caribbean. Now, of course, it has passed by the Cayman Islands. Next on the list will be the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. Mexican officials are preparing shelters, and they're actually evacuating some areas as well. Also taking it very hard was Grenada. Now, the storm didn't make landfall in Jamaica, but the island was hammered by extremely powerful winds because they just missed a landfall. They got the northern eye wall from this system. Powerful winds, heavy rain, power has been knocked out across much of the island, including the capital city, Kingston. The airport in Kingston was damaged. Parts of the roof were ripped off. I mean, it really is quite a mess. A very, very dangerous situation across the island of Jamaica. Also of interest is that Hurricane Beryl is forcing cruise lines to change their itineraries. So if you thought maybe you were going to set sail to Cozumel or Belize, think again. Our Shelby Rose has a closer look at the upended travel plans for cruisers.
Well, the great thing about cruises is they're mobile, right? So it's relatively easy for these ships to plan ahead and divert away from any major hurricane such as Beryl. Right now, we're only seeing itinerary changes with these trips. No cancellations thus far, but every major cruise line has made adjustments over the last few days. That includes Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Carnival, and Disney. However, experts say the impacts of Beryl are not short term. This major hurricane could have lasting effects on cruise lines and their future plans depending on how much damage the hurricane does. But until that's assessed, we're only seeing cruises that were planned to go to places such as the Yucatan or Jamaica divert their itineraries and choose other destinations instead. Carnival Cruise Line says they've so far done that with 2 of their ships, but this certainly is something they're used to.
We work very closely, our ships do, with our Fleet Operations Center in Miami, constantly monitoring forecasts really all year round. Certainly having that Fleet Operations Center working 24/7 does come in handy this time of year.
And if you are embarking on a Carnival cruise anytime in the near future, they encourage you to sign up for text updates. But if you are concerned at all with any cruise line, you're asked to just contact them directly. Reporting in the newsroom, Shelby Rose, Fox 26 News.
Shelby, thanks for that update. So as Beryl makes its way into the Gulf of Mexico, which should happen late tomorrow or early on Saturday, it looks like the most likely landfall will be at least the center into northern Mexico or South Texas, but we definitely cannot rule out impacts in our area, and that has Houston city leaders calling on you to be ready just in case.
Any disturbance in the Gulf concerns us. We monitor it with the National Weather Department and our emergency center here in Houston. So At the present time, it looks like we're going to be fortunate. We may get some rain, but South Texas and Mexico might get the worst impact.
We have a lot of activity in the Gulf, right? Please be weather aware. Monitor your news sites. Stay connected with Alert Houston. Please have a plan ready to go in case something visits us here in the next week or so.
They also mentioned the storm. We're monitoring that too. Right now it's looking good, getting away from us. So that is what we're monitoring as well.
Although, I still think we're in for some heavy rain. So the city leaders urge you to pay close attention to this storm updates through the holiday weekend. Of course, you can count on us for that. Now, even if the center of Beryl and the highest winds don't necessarily take a direct hit on the Houston area, it's still a good reminder that hurricane season is active already, and it's going to be very active in the next several months too. So meteorologist John Dawson continues to test and review items for your storm kits. Today, a crank-powered flashlight and radio seems like a pretty good necessity. JD shows us a modern version in today's hurricane gear test.
I like to see multifunctional tools and items in our hurricane supplies. A little redundancy can give you choices or backup options, and that's something that never hurts in an emergency situation. And so on today's hurricane gear test, we're going to be talking about portable power along with emergency lighting, but that's not the primary purpose of the Midland ER 310. Its main job is an emergency crank radio. But as the saying goes, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. This thing has some technology that'll make you want to consider it for your hurricane kits. An included lithium-ion battery can be recharged with the dynamo power. That, of course, is the crank. But did you also happen to notice that there are some solar panels here on top? And if I've got the time, I'm going to let the sun do all of the work. And you can also keep it charged with a micro USB cable, and what goes in by USB can go out by USB, meaning that you can charge your phone and other devices from here as well. Let's talk about some features, starting with the radio. You can tune in AM and FM along with NOAA weather radio. And if you enable the weather alert function, a siren and flashing light will let you know when a weather alert has been received. And speaking of light, this LED flashlight has a low, a high, and an SOS setting. Now, you don't want to use this as your primary light source, but as I mentioned earlier, it's nice to have options when the lights go out. A unique feature is an ultrasonic dog whistle. It helps in search and rescue teams if they need to find you. Now, as humans, we can't hear anything, but I did test this on my dog, and it certainly got her attention. I'm giving the Midland Emergency Crank Radio a Cat 5 out of 5 on my Hurricane Kit Priority Scale. This is one of those items that still has a place in our emergency supplies. It will cost you around $70. What is your favorite feature of this device? Leave me a comment on my YouTube channel. Just search for meteorologist John Dawson.
Excellent, JD. Well, up next, we're going to take a break from the tropics and talk about the very hot weather that's going to be heading our way for the 4th of July and the 4th of July extended holiday weekend. So we'll see you back here in a couple minutes.
Fox 26 is
The weather is hot, so welcome back everybody to Forecasting with Friends. This is our daily weather show each day, Monday through Friday, here on Fox Local and on our other streaming platforms, 11 a.m. So I want to just give you a brief update on what's happening out there with temperatures even at this early hour. As of 11:17 here in Southeast Texas, our heat index value is already through the roof. So on our weather graphics here, we've been tracking the temperatures as they've been rising, and already the heat index is up to about 100 degrees. I don't know, Director Clint, can we pull up the Lynx one, or are we going to the, okay, no, it's okay. We play it pretty cool here on Forecasting with Friends. The heat index right now in Houston is 98 degrees. How about 106 in Galveston and 107 in Sugar Land? So it is nasty out there already. 89 degrees our temperature. We have a heat advisory that's in effect today. You can see that here. It is hazy outside. We still have a little bit of Saharan dust in place. A wind out of the south at 11. Current temperature in Houston 89 with a feels like value of 98. And here is the outlook for the 4th of July fireworks. About 97 if you're doing some grilling at 3 p.m. up to 91 at 7 o'clock tonight. And then come fireworks time tonight just before 10 p.m. a temperature around 85 degrees with a lot of humidity. All right, so as we continue dealing with the very hot temperatures for this 4th of July, we have heat advisories in place today and tomorrow. That means you'll want to find a place with some lots of adequate air conditioning. So the city of Houston and the county have opened a number of cooling centers, including multi-service centers and public libraries. You can find a complete list of cooling centers on our website at fox26houston.com. Now, of course, you could say it's hot as a firecracker out there. A lot of weather people are, I'm sure, really prone to say that when they're writing their weather teases. But the heat is on really from coast to coast. Fox's Jeff Paul has more on the dangers of these sweltering temperatures across the country.
Ahead of the 4th of July, health officials are warning people about the heat. In Sacramento, temperatures for the rest of the week are forecasted to reach highs between 105 and 115 degrees.
We're going to actually head to the beach for the 4th to try to cool down.
But for 4th of July visitors and local swimmers alike, California beaches pose their own danger.
A rip current in San Francisco on a normal day is strong enough to pull a grown adult into the sea in just ankle-deep water.
And if you're thinking about hiking this holiday, Phoenix officials say trails can be deceiving, especially if you're not an experienced hiker or from out of town.
Stay off these hiking trails, certainly in the middle of the day when the temperatures are the hottest. We are at risk, any human being, whether we're healthy or not, to the elements out here, the environment, the extreme temperatures.
In Arizona, a burn survivor shares his story.
I looked at my hands, and the skin had peeled off my palms like the skin from an onion, and it looked like raw hamburger underneath.
A year ago, Robert Woolley lost his balance and fell outside, suffering second-degree burns on 15% of his body. Contact burns can occur in just a few seconds when the skin touches a hot surface, reaching up to 180 degrees. Woolley doesn't want this to happen to anyone else.
As a senior, if you fall, it's harder and harder to get up. The air is hot, but the ground is unbelievably hot.
An analysis by the Associated Press found the heat killed a record number of Americans last year. More than 2,000 died of heat-related illnesses. In Los Angeles, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
I've honestly never heard of that before. Contact burns from falling down like that. That is some scary stuff. So back here in Houston, if you're going out to the big fireworks show downtown, make sure that you hydrate. Nate Griffin, Nate the Great, has a preview of tonight's Freedom Over Texas.
Hey guys, Freedom Over Texas getting underway here very shortly, and of course it's going to be a whole lot of fun today. The one thing you want to make sure you do is hydrate. Drink plenty of water. Drink plenty of water. You're going to need it. They will have some cooling stations out here, misting stations as well, but you want to make sure you take care of you before coming. That way when you get here, you won't have to worry so much about that. You see behind me, you see the station, and that is the main stage. It's called the Shell main stage. Took about 3-4 days to put that thing up. I spoke with Rob McKinley over LD Systems a little bit earlier, and you can see the police right now. What they're doing is walking the dog to make sure that everything is safe here, bomb-sniffing dogs, if you will. to make sure that everything is safe. But it's been an amazing morning this morning as we spoke with Houston Fire Department Captain Cedric Robinette, talked about fire safety as well as staying hydrated and making sure that you are safe while you're out here and understanding what's going to happen with the fireworks display as well. We also had the Aldine Carver dance group from Aldine Carver High School. They were amazing. Spoke with Susan Christian with the city in terms of planning, and she has a really big job, been doing this for quite some time. DJ Young Jazz, she was extremely entertaining, and you will see her tonight out here on this stage, as well as many other great entertainers. Once again, you want to get out here early if you can, get your spot so that you can come out here and not have to stress and strain getting here, because as you well know, this place is going to be packed. It is July 4th. You want to have fun. So in order to have fun, take the necessary precautions in coming out here. Don't pack too heavy coming out here. Just enjoy the fireworks display later tonight. But before that, make sure you hydrate so that you can be nice and comfortable during the fireworks display. All right? We are here, Fox 26 Morning News. Nate Griffin, Fox 26 Morning News.
Nate is the best, isn't he? Well, fireworks are illegal within Houston city limits, but if you are going to use them where it is legal, you have to make sure to do it safely.
Every year we get thousands of people that are ending up at the ER as a result of injuries from improper use of fireworks. Look, Freedom Over Texas, the Shell's Freedom Over Texas is a great event. It's a professionally run event. We encourage our community to seek out those professional events and stay away from the use of fireworks. A reminder that it is illegal to set off fireworks within the city limits. The fine can be anywhere from $500 to $2,000 if you're caught. If it's a minor, the parents will be held responsible for those.
All right, and it goes without saying that officials also warn about celebratory gunfire. Yes, firing a gun can lead to a charge of deadly conduct. If convicted, you could face up to a year in jail, a $4,000 fine, and you're just pretty foolish and selfish if you shoot guns up in the air. So please don't do that. Coming up next after this break, we're going to give you a complete look at the tropics and the latest computer model runs on Beryl.
Fox 26 is your
With the latest on this unprecedented Hurricane Beryl, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Iskovitz here at Fox 26. Beryl, as of Thursday morning, is a Category 3, down from Category 5 status, breaking all kind of records as the strongest storm observed in both June and July. And now it makes its way toward the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, where it may even be a Category 2 when it moves in overnight tonight or early tomorrow. And I want to alert everybody along the Texas coastline not to just pay attention to the middle of this cone, but to realize the storm could be very large by then. Right now it's predicted to be a Category 1, could potentially be even a Category 2. It also looks like after it moves inland, it could potentially start to curve to the north. This is the way it looks on our satellite imagery right now, and these are our spaghetti model plots, and I want to just zoom in on these to show you that once it makes landfall here, most of our models, including the GFS model and even now the newest Euro model, are showing a movement to the north. So while it may not be a direct impact for much of the Texas coastline, for example, the Houston-Galveston area, it still looks like it's going to bring us a lot of rain. Some parts of Texas could get more than 10 inches. So please stay tuned for updates as we head into what could be a pretty interesting situation here coming up for this weekend and early next week.